Hi everyone, how are you? This is Melbourne Musos YouTube Live on a bit of a sad day. This is a Joey Jordison tribute. Plugs. Hey, how are you all tonight? My name is Quinlan. This is a Melbourne Musos YouTube tribute to one Joey Jordison who passed away on Wednesday. Hey, there you go. All right. I'll take the music out for it to come back later on. All right, a very sad week for heavy metal. One of the greats has passed away in Joey Jordison, and this is my humble tribute to that great, incredible drummer. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And a lot of people are very sad, so I'm going to play this. I'm usually the clown, not tonight. And so what goes on is that I'd like to do a tribute to Joey Jordison of Slipknot and Murder Dolls and a few others. Tonight I thought I'd do a bit of a different thing. I usually read his biography, but I thought this time to speak it and then drum it. So what I've done is I've put, like I've done in the past, I like my spoken word and stuff like that. But what I want to do is sort of give you an idea of his legacy, really, with Slipknot and everything else. So what we've got is, I'll go down the track of the biography, I'll do the techniques, I'll probably start with a few techniques and all that, and finish with my thoughts on the whole thing, on how, what he had to do, that affliction that he had, and all that. But anyway, so what I'll do is I'll sort of start off with a couple of things in the sense that what goes on here is that he took things from the past. His influences are people like Keith Moon, John Bonham, you know, my guys, Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich, you know, that kind of thing. So when you're thinking like that, and in my research, yeah, I can see that. The music of Slipknot. If you really peel through, it's steeped in a little bit of history, because the thing is, when you start getting into some of their stuff, I mean, he's the drummer. He had two percussionists there, which I'll get into in a bit. But what happens is, in the middle of Psychosocial, you know, Off All Hope Is Gone and stuff. Marching stuff. And how could he play that? Well, there's your Buddy Rich. And the feet, man. Oh. So I'll start talking about that a little bit, and then I'll talk about his life a little bit. So what happens is, one of the things with heavy metal drumming, of which he is a pioneer of the new metal. I mean, you know, when you're thinking about metal, of course, you know, you're talking about Sabbath and to a certain degree Led Zeppelin and things like that. Oh, pardon me. And away it goes from there. And of course, there's Bill Ward on drums, who was a jazz drummer, right? And so that's what put the swing into Sabbath. And when you're actually listening to Joey on, you know, even on their first album, you know, Slipknot in, 1999. I've gone, what the hell is this? And I thought, this is crazy, you know, that kind of thing. But what happens is, I mean, we're we're going to talk about the damn Olympics. I mean, heavy metal drumming should be a sport, you know. I mean, I once tried to put a pedometer on my, on my boot. I thought, how many steps do I do? You know, I do 5,000 steps when I take the pooch to doggy park. You know, that kind of thing. I wonder how many steps you do if you're a heavy metal drummer. When, you know, that kind of, all that stuff. You know, what do? I mean, God help me, he was the king of it. Then he did it upside down. You know, the revolving stage and up and around, and it still kept on going. There you go, strapped himself in, let's go. I know Tommy Lee did it first, but crazy stuff, brilliant. Anyway, but what I'm going to talk about now, I'll get into the technique a little bit, then I'll talk about biography stuff in his life. One of the things you want to really get into to start this kind of, to be able to play this kind of music, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I know that. You know, it sounds like Cookie Monster to some, you know, that kind of stuff. We could start over. Look me in the eye and say I'm wrong, and all that. And I'm going, yep, you're right, mate. There you go, psychosocial. And right in the middle of that, drumline. Hey, okay. He didn't leave anyone behind, you know. And as far as history and styles and genres and stuff, I'll get into that in a bit. But what goes on is one of the first things you want to do if you really want to develop double kick technique, whether it be with a double pedal or two bass drums. I have two here, but they're different sizes. So I've got both the double kick, and I also have the boot cam here. Sorry, boot cam here, having a look, and just off camera there is my wide open, actually. So you go, I was doing that last week. Herb Alexander. We nearly lost him a while ago. He had a heart attack, but he's come good. Thank God. And so what goes on is one of the things you want to try and do is, to just start with, is unisons. Whatever your hands do, your feet do. So you things like that, you see. Do it with different things. So what happens is what I was doing there, I picked that up on when I was researching for this show. I listened to the whole catalogue, Slipknot catalogue and stuff. I've done that already. I mean, you know, I've got a bit of a story about the first album, but I'll talk about that later too. There's a lot of things I'm going to be talking about later. But what goes on is with this, you also want to get your rudiments involved as well, because you might be doing a single stroke roll with the double kick. Change it to double stroke or paradiddle, right? And then what you want to do is, as you're getting that going, I always call myself a child of my time. I've said that on the show before, because I tend to, when I'm doing this, I tend to lead with my left foot because of the hi-hat. Talked about this last week, continuity, but I'll move on. Straddle the pedal. So I've got a bit of diagonal coordination for this particular thing. So what you've got is your right hand playing with your left foot. Goes from the hi-hat to the left bass drum or left pedal. happens there. You see, you get that sort of continuity. It's almost like an X kind of thing, in the sense that your right hand is working with your left foot, and your left hand is working with your right foot. So when I'm doing that, my hands are going right, left, but my feet are going left, right, left, right. Now, this is double bass drum stuff to get the unison, but don't forget that one of Joey Jordison's great influences, as to us all, was John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. And what I always say about that is play your hi-hat. You see that with Bonham all the time. And one of his secret weapons, of course, and I did this just last week. You've got that going. And always remember that John Bonham, would, when he was doing his solo, and that's what happened there. You see, and that's a John Bonham thing. Joey took that to a whole other level, that kind of thing. He just, down to boot camp down there. But what goes on is what he did was just took it to the left boot, you know, that kind of thing, and then that sort of business. But that's one aspect of it. The other thing is, as I said, the unison kind of thing. Now, one other thing that I'm doing now is a little bit of a kicker there, right, left, right. Right, left, right. So if you're playing, that kind of thing there, right, left, right, you see? So that's what happens with that bit. And then you can put it into different things, you see. So I've got this little thing, because when you watch Joey play the tunes, you know, when you're watching him live, you go, how does he do that? You know, crazy. And what happens is he's even on both sides. And what I mean by that is that you can have, like, let's say I take a rock beat, right? So you get... Now, what happens there is that what I was trying to do with the rim shots and stuff is actually try and be even on both sides. So you could be playing this. What you want is the same sound on each side, because especially if you've got a microphone like this beloved one I've had here for a long time, a Sennheiser, is going to pick it up. So if you do a rim shot here, but then just a normal tap here, the engineer or the producer is going to say, can't you even it up a little bit? And sometimes what I say to my students is that sometimes the most trickiest things come from the simplest of requests. You know, that kind of thing, like, I love that China. Can you play it? I'm down here and I go, oh, God, help me. You know, Shane Warne flipper, whatever. What do? Well, you'd use mixed sticking and things like that to get there. And the same kind of thing happens when you're doing a lick like what you hear with Slipknot with some of the things. There's a little lick I was, I don't know, I've had this for a while, so. Okay. So what I've got there is, that's that little thing there. So I'm putting in that little what I call kind of a triplet curl, kind of little triplet, like that. It comes across like a 4-stroke rough, but with your feet. So you get that. That kind of business there, you see. So that's another thing. So I've got really 2 things happening with my feet here. Just single stroke roll. It can be right foot start or left foot start. When you're doing it like a John Bonham influence, it comes from the hi-hat. When you're hearing that, good times, bad times. Said just last week. But what happens is when you're actually putting it onto the beat, I'll straddle. That's what he does, you know, that kind of thing. At least with some of the things, when it comes from a Bonham-esque kind of stuff. When you start to do rudimental kinds of business, it really is, you know, just whatever the hands do it with the feet. It's sort of like a perverted heavy metal Steve Gadd's Army, that kind of thing. Whoever might know that, Steve Gadd, Crazy Army, you know, that kind of thing where it's like a snare drum to bass drum kind of thing. Metal it up. There you go. There's another thing too, if you're going to put that in, it's a bit of a stretch, a bit of a long bow here, but what you've got is Phil Collins, you know, like why not put those little threes in between, you know? It's that kind of, that's what you've got there. So that's what happens, you see. Little tricks of the trade. You hear that quite a bit. Now, when you're doing that kind of thing, that goes into one of the things about metal as a genre and some of the stylistic things. You know, like if you join a blues band, you sort of know you're going to play a blues beat, you know, that kind of thing. If you're going to join a country band, you sort of know you're going to wear a cowboy hat and play that kind of business there. So when you join a metal band, you need the 4-speed gearbox, okay? So what happens is that there's a thing called rates, okay? So what happens with rates is you might have a beat like that. We call that quavers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... I'm sort of emphasizing the numbers, see the little accent? I'm not really doing that yet. That's not wrong, it's just a different thing. I've got half that off. They're old sticks. They've seen better days. Anyway, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... Now, they're quavers, right? Half a bit each. If I go to minims, use a minim rate. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. That's known as a half-time beat. Minim being 2 beats. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Crotchet rate, 1, 2, 3, 4. Crotchet being 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut time is based on quavers and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Then you have your 4th gear, so to speak, based on 16th notes, which is what we know as a blast beat. I put the bass drum on each one and just put in a single stroke roll. And then you can put in, say, 2, like, oh, just like that. So you get a. There you go. That's a triplet, basically. What you've got there is right, foot, foot. I do right, left down there. That's what happens there. And so you've got 4 speeds, you see. Now, that's just the usual thing for any kind of metal thing. When I teach it to my students, it's like a roller coaster ride. You're going up, then bang, you're off, sort of thing. And that's what happens. So you might. It goes like that, and it's all within, that. So there's your bass, and kind of thing there. So you've got your normal tempo, like that, and then what happens is that you've got 4 speeds with it. You see, sort of thing. So when I first teach it, it's not the 4 speeds. I just say 3 speeds to a rock beat. And then I bring it in later on, that kind of thing in my books and stuff. But I'm not here to plug that. That's callous. I'm just here for this, to show you what you can do to honour a man like Joey Jordison. So what goes on is you've got that kind of thing. So you've got your rate of play. You've got your 4 speeds, so to speak, in a metal genre. Now, one of the other things that happened as well as this is that it really puts a spotlight on good technique. Good solid technique. And one thing that I tend to talk about a little bit is, I loosely call it arms, wrists, fingers. And what happens is, when you're playing, if you're playing something fairly slow, you'd use your arms like. You see that with the taiko drummers. Boom! Like that. Of course, you bring your wrists into it. Easiest way to practice wrists is do the Dennis Chambers, play on a pillow, that kind of thing, because there's no bounce. Or play with brushes. I love my brushes, but there's no brushes tonight, that kind of thing. And then what happens is that you're using your wrists. Okay, so there's all that. Then you have your fingers. And then what starts to go on is that your fingers actually finish off the little package. So you've got a little bit of a 3-piece thing there. You can throw your elbow in as well. So what starts to happen is that when you're dealing with really fast playing and consistently fast, right? See the rim shot there? I was like, okay, I'll do it. The vip, you're vipping, molar technique. Okay, so. You really see that, and with Joey Jordison's playing, and you also see a lot of the Gladstone technique, which are fingers, right? Oh, whip it out. Now that's where the marching influence comes in from. Kind of thing. You're trying to keep it consistent. Now, when you're actually doing that, and if I go back to double bass drum work a little bit, there's that little point in the road. When you just play it like a single stroke roll, that kind of thing, or whatever, God bless my little poppets trying to get it up. I say, now think of it in 4. you know, that kind of thing. And then I give them Supernaut by Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath Volume 4. Great swinging song. I believe it's one of Frank Zappa's favourite Black Sabbath songs. I can't confirm that. If someone can get back to me, that would be beautiful. I have tried to have a look, but it's just, I don't know. Anyway, there you go. And I hope it would be one of Joey's favourite songs as well, because that's, you know, you look back, say, look at the men who came before, you know, that, and you know, that kind of stuff. And what goes on with this is that when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, you need that kind of point, you know, the whip, that kind of thing. You don't want it just like that. You want to delineate the grouping. Okay, so if I did sextuplets, you said sextuplets, you got 6 notes in a beat. Okay, so 1 and a 2, or you can think of it like triplets if you like. 1 and a 2 and a 1. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, come on, Chris, come on, feet. Feet, don't fail me now. There you go. And there's that kind of thing. So that there's sextuplets, for instance, and the little bump in the road is, there's that for you there. That's what happens there. Now, with this little, like that, I've got a little thing, Gina Lola Brigida, 7, okay? Say the name. Gina Lola Brigida. Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida. That's what you do. Put it all together. Oh my God, he's a master at it, Joey. Oh God. Oh my God, that's the heavy metal version of We Will Rock You there. Ah. Anyway, that's what he would do. You see him roll down the drums. And what often happens is that if you're playing that, the feet gives you the little tiny space to get to the next tom. See the little lift up, so like that. If you play it slower, it's not Gina anymore. Okay, Gina has left the building. Oh God. And what happens is that you have, that's more like a little rough, that kind of thing. But when you put it up to speed, that kind of thing there, you'll see Joey Jordison do that in spades as rolls and stuff. One of the things that I noticed with one of his drum solos, he was no slouch with the double stroke roll, you know. And as he was did part of the solo and went upside down and everything else. So, oh, first time ever. Oh, shit. That kind of stuff there. And there you have it, you see. So there's that kind of thing there. So essentially, that's what's going on with this stuff. What I'm going to do now is a bit of a part 1 with something that I've prepared as far as just the man himself and his life. And what I've got is a bit of a spoken word kind of thing. Well, not spoken word, it's just his biography. And what I want to do is play this for you, and I'll get a little bit of a background thing. Over the last weeks I've been doing, I hope, humorous things with butchering children's stories and stuff like that. And you've got to keep a sense of humour with what's going on at the moment. But sometimes I don't know, it's very hard to be a funny man when the goalpost keeps changing and things get so damn serious. No one's laughing. So, and today is one of those days. Here we go. Nathan Jonas Jordison, April 26, 1975 to July 26, 2021, was an American musician who was the drummer and co-founder of metal band Slipknot, as well as guitarist for horror punk band Murder Dolls. Jordison grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, with his parents and two sisters, and was given his first drum kit at the age of 8. He performed with many bands early in his career. Then in the summer of 1995, he joined the group The Pale Ones, which would later change their name to Slipknot. Jordison played in Slipknot since their formation until his departure from the band in December 2013. Of Slipknot's 9-member lineup, which lasted from 1999 to 2010, Joey was the third to join the band. He was the drummer and founder of Scarred Martyr, which formed in 2013 and disbanded in 2016. With Slipknot, Jordison performed on 4 studio albums and produced the live album 9.0 Live. Outside his major projects, Jordison performed with other metal groups such as Rob Zombie, Metallica, Korn, Ministry, OTEP and Satyricon. Jordison was also known for his session with performances on many albums for many artists. Before his death, he was playing for the band Cincinnatium. In 2016, Jordison talked about suffering from acute transverse myelitis in a Metal Hammer interview. Its symptoms started in 2010 while touring with Murder Dolls, but the disease was diagnosed long after. This progressed to the loss of use of his left leg. The neurological disease had temporarily cost him the use of his legs and caused him to be unable to play the drums before rehabilitation. He recovered with the aid of medical help and intensive work in the gym. On July 26, 2021, Jordison died in his sleep at the age of 46. Oh, that's hard to listen to. What sometimes happens is that you can take something from a completely different genre and throw it in. I've already talked about jazz. Bill Ward of Sabbath being a jazz drummer, put the swing into Sabbath and stuff like that. There's also when Joey Jordison talks about people like Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich, what starts to happen is that there's the swing as well. There's also that wonderful kind of that sort of stuff there, where you're really swinging it a little bit, things like that. Well, that's a drumming rudiment that Slipknot are famous for, with their drum line, with their 2 extra drummers there, Sean Clown Crahan and Chris Finn. Paradiddle diddle. It is a drum show. So. See that flick? It's a bit of a Buddy Rich thing. There's that. So there's the history and the lineage and everything else. One of the things that happened on their first album, which is a self-titled album, Slipknot, is that it was released in 1999, and at the time, there was a lot of drum and bass around, and it was a little bit like Paradiddle City and On 6 Cups of Coffee, you know, that kind of thing. But one of the little tricks of the trade that I noticed on the first CD, not so much in later CDs, but it was of the time, you know, late 90s and all that, was lots of sort of really frenetic kind of bass and drum kind of stuff. My go-to guy at that particular time was Zach Alford, who was drumming for David Bowie, and especially the Earthlings album. Oh my Lord, what kind of drumming is that? And I thought, wow, and then Slipknot, and then all of a sudden, what's just happened? You know, that kind of thing. It was incredible, you know, that kind of... Oh, paradiddles. That sort of business. A lot of people have a popcorn snare. I've got this one. I love this one. That's a maple. So. That sort of biz. So you get that kind of... And that's one thing that I noticed with the first album, and a little bit with Iowa as well, their second album. In order, you've got Slipknot, self-titled, Iowa. You've got Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses. 9.0 Live came after that, and then All Hope Is Gone. And then Joey left, and Slipknot carried on. And but this show is about Joey, so that's what it is. But what happens is, one of the things I notice as far as stylistic things that Joey Jordison would pick up and use was what I've called empty sounds. And what I mean is, if you've got, let's just talk a paradiddle. You've got a paradiddle. And of course, that's what you've got to do. Right? When you first play it, it's right, left, 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 right, left. And then the 8 separate notes starts to become 2 groups of 4. Right, left, right, left, right, left. And then what goes on? Next, you're really only thinking of right, left, right, left. Something like that. And away you go. You've got to think the vertical, up and down, and then the horizontal, see? And one of the things that can happen, and I hear this very early on the first album, is empty sounds. You see, when you're playing a rock beat, there's your paradiddle, right? Normal rock beat. Paradiddle, 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 rock beat. Paradiddle, 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 rock beat. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. See what I'm doing now? I'm doing variations on paradiddles, but I'm leaving out the bass drum. So I might start... you start to use what's called empty sounds, you see. So what sometimes goes on is that a band might need spacing when they're doing syncopated riffs and all this sort of stuff, because what happens is that you've got to try and get that kind of business. I sometimes get my students just to play on their knee, that kind of thing. So I might get like paradiddle with a 4 on the floor if I'm playing it as 16 notes. 1 a and a 2 a and a 3 and a 4 a. Right hand on the knee. That's what happens. You can also play in the air. Pick a target, and there you go. And that's what goes on. So, that starts to get us into the rudimentary kind of deal. Look me in the eye and say I'm wrong. That's the middle section of psychosocial, that... that kind of thing. It keeps coming up. I'll watch live clips and they do the little middle section where the 3 of them get together, do things. So what starts to happen is you might have unisons. Hey! And then you go with that, you see. So there's a whole bunch of little things that they were masters at. And Joey Jordison was the center of it, okay? He was the center of that. He probably set it all up, that kind of thing. And there you have it. Now, I know I was going to go way over, and that's what I'm doing. I'm still going way over. This is pretty much an hour show tonight. And what I'm going to do now is sort of do the same thing I did with the biography, in the sense that is sort of, I've got something prepared. I did it, I actually typed it out last night. One of the things is that when you're actually listening to Slipknot, even their last one that Joey is not on, but what you've got is a lot of clips, little sound bites and stuff. It's a big part of their sound, right? Everything, the dialogue in between. Tunes. Stuff like that, you see. Much more about that band that meets the eye. So, part 2. Here, the band and Joey Jordison's drumming influenced so many people. And as a teacher, I know a few people who were crushed. 45. Crazy. I put this together last night for him. I wonder if I wrote it for my friends as well, my students, everyone. Hope you like it. Carry on, soldier. I'm listening to Slipknot's albums in chronological order. I remember buying the first album 20-something years ago and coming home thinking, man, oh man, this is the metal avant-garde. Crazy stuff. They caught a new wave along with Korn, System of a Down and a few others. Such work, no dumbing down. I lent that first Slipknot CD to an erstwhile student who subsequently refused to give it back. I rang him. He saw it like some cheap, smirking victory. Sometimes it's true. People equals shit. Just like Slipknot screamed and Joey drummed. That isn't my motto by any stretch. But sometimes I make exceptions. Once upon a time, indeed, that was my number. Being constantly called a little shit. Dumbed down, passed over. So, Slipknot all wore masks and were all given numbers. Seems it was cool then. They made a statement. They spoke to so many. They became a voice for the disaffected. Seems the opposite is true nowadays. We have a war against a pandemic and still I see the smirking, insolent, horse-punching naysayers in Sydney and Olympic Tokyo drowning in spittle. So, back to drumming. It seemed that Joey Jordison took on all his heroes' techniques and made his own style. Keith Moon, John Bonham, Gene Krupa, and Buddy Rich apparently. So, he was crazy like Keith, solid as Bonzo, swung like Gene and told everyone to get fucked like Buddy. All wrapped up in an entity like Slipknot. Then he got sick. Yet he carried on. His affliction took away all the very things a heavy metal drummer prides himself on. His legs on those two brilliant bass drums of his. With Slipknot, he took on everything held dear with those that came before. Marching band cadences with his percussion compatriots in the band. Seems he didn't spit on anything when it came to holding history. I'd be thinking, this is crazy. Then bam, a marching cadence I used to play in the Essendon band 30 years ago. Anzac marching for Dad and the medals he came to despise. Nobody would know some of those drumming lines unless they were there. Bit like a password. Respect. So Joey Jordison has died 16 years younger than me. He's been fired, spat out, and he's been put through the ringer. Just like me and you who listen. He fought to keep playing despite the odds. In a morbid way, I'm glad I found out he died in his sleep. I didn't want to read the obvious other. He was a fighter in a band that screams uncomfortable truths. He was a fighter and his affliction seems to have taken him in his sleep. In drumming, he screamed the truth and wore his heroes on his shoulders. I'm pretty sure they would be very proud. So he plays with the drumming angels tonight. Now, it's up to us to wear his mask until we get out of this pandemic shit. We carry on, we pick up this brave soldier's sticks, and fucking carry on! Slipknot, all in masks, all in your face, all numbers. As far as numbers. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And Joey Jordison was always number 1. Joey Jordison, your legion follows. We can only do our best.
shall we?